Am I the asshole for not leaving work to help my wife when she ran out of gas? My wife, 38F, and I, 41M, have been married for 11 years and have 2 kids, 9 and 7. I work full-time and she works part-time while also doing online classes to finish her degree she dropped out of college after 2 years and wants to finish. She has ADD and anxiety. And if I'm being honest, sometimes it feels like our entire lives revolve around her symptoms. Last Friday, my wife didn't have to work and decided to go visit her sister who lives in a small town about 45 minutes away. She didn't tell me she was going, so I was very surprised when she called me shortly after noon. She was obviously upset when I answered, and between sobs I was able to make out that there was an issue with the car. Eventually, she calmed down and told me that she ran out of gas in the middle of nowhere and didn't know what to do. Because she hadn't told me she was visiting her sister, I was very confused and had a lot of questions, which only made her more upset. I was getting frustrated too, so I finally just asked her what she wanted me to do. She told me she needed me to come help her. I told her I was at work and had meetings in the afternoon that I couldn't skip. I suggested she call her sister, but she went to work after my wife visited and my wife didn't want to bother her. I suggested she call aita to come help, but she said she didn't know how to do that. I suggested she call an Uber, but she was in the middle of nowhere and didn't show any cars available. I suggested she call a friend or someone else that might be able to help, and she yelled at me to just come fu and $ing help her. I tried to remain calm and reiterated that I am sorry she's in this position, but at this moment I am unable to help her. I told her I had offered numerous suggestions that she could try to help herself, but I can't leave work. She then hung up on me. My first meeting of the afternoon was starting in 5 minutes, so I tried calling her back and she didn't answer. I kept trying to text her. Not the asshole. Your wife just proved that she was in fact able of dealing with this situation herself. I have zero patience for adults who can't manage situations like this. A, it was of her own making. B, there were so many options for solving it. And dropping everything to go save her. That's just enables her dysfunction further. It teaches her that she doesn't need to be responsible for herself. And the silent treatment? That's a form of controlling behavior and emotional abuse. You need to sit your wife down and have a stern talking to with her. She is the, Be sure to point out everything I shared here. Info. I've heard of couples where one of them simply won't gas up the car. Either it's a skill or anxiety issue, or they split costs and one is relying on the other to pay for gas. Original poster, does your wife regularly gas up the car herself? And the silent treatment. That's a form of controlling behavior and emotional abuse. Yup. Silent treatment is about control. They don't want resolution or to fix the situation. They just want you to come crawling back to beg. You've already addressed the best way to deal with silent treatment, but the second best way of dealing with the silent treatment is to just act like no one is there, like you have an empty house or haunted by a ghost, or to speak to that person like they are agreeing with everything you say. Learned this from dealing with my mom. Walk in the door and say you're home, and when they don't answer, just pretend like they're not there. Announce to the room that you're going to make food, and if someone wants any, they need to speak up. Announce that you're going to do certain things, and then do them if they don't respond. Leave them out of food and activities if they don't respond. I second this as a woman with ADD and who struggles with executive functions and work really hard daily to create systems to help keep me organized. One of as advertised services, which you're paying for if you have it, is bringing you a gallon of gas if you're out. I agree. At what fucking point do you stop being a helpless ninny? If your wife can't order by herself, she probably shouldn't be allowed to drive or take care of children. What does she do when she has to take her kids to the doctor and has to fill out their names on a form, good Lord man? This! What happens if the kid gets hurt or she is in an accident with a real emergency? Sounds like they need some emergency planning if she can't even figure out how to call AA. I could do this as a teenager, sad a grown woman can't figure it out. I'm a queen of locking the keys in my car. They like to fall out of my pocket. That is why I have a yearly membership and know how to work an app. You don't even need to call anymore. You put the pin on where you are and put in your info. Order DoorDash is harder than AA nowadays. For real. This is a level of incompetence and helplessness that cannot be blamed on ADD. I hate it when people blame ridiculous behaviors like this on ADD. I have AD myself, and I know how to call and plan ahead to stop for gas when it's getting low. She had cell service. All she had to do was call the number on the back of the card. My head hurts just thinking about how this woman is even a functioning adult. For real, I'd feel like I had 3 kids. I don't drive and know how to get in touch with our country's roadside assistance. Hell Hours has an app on our phone that will send the exact location, so there isn't any halfway between X and Y. Turn left at the tree that looks like Madonna and drive for 5 minutes. She shouldn't be driving any distance if she can't call aita. She is a parent of 2 children. If she can't resolve calling AA for help, how can she be responsible for 2 children? This is weaponized incompetence, if ever I have heard of it. Not the asshole. She shouldn't be driving at all if she is incapable of telling when the car needs more petrol. Or putting gas in the car. I'm sorry. She doesn't know how to call aita? That's an issue. Look, I'd rather have my husband come handle whatever it is too. But running out of gas is pretty simple. And if you have an it's pretty simple to fix. U/gold C3219. If she can call you, she can call aita, in my humble opinion. For fucking real. Mid-40s, severe ADD, married to a now retired soldier with 4 kids. When my husband was deployed, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong within the first week of him leaving. Death in the family? 2 days after he left, dog escaped from our backyard, ran off, got into some kind of scuffle until we tracked her down, and she came back with injuries that required a visit to a 24-hour vet clinic. 4 days after he left. Flat tire on the highway during a torrential downpour with all 4 kids in the van. 6 days after he left. I was ready to pull my damn hair out and run far away. But FS, I'm an adult, and my husband and children needed me to get my shit together and be an adult. Original poster, I can't even begin to tell you how far back my eyes rolled when I read the line about your wife yelling that she didn't know how to call Sis, are you for real right now? Not the asshole in the least. Original poster. Your wife needs to grow the hell up. Before I got my new car, I had to call after my car wouldn't start. I was in the best place possible, a parking lot. I panicked because my gram was with me and I was worried about her having an accident if I couldn't get her home. Even though she uses incontinence underwear, I was prepared for her to need to use them, but I didn't want her to be uncomfortable. Called AA. They told me I likely needed to jump and estimated arrival at an hour and a half. The next phone call was to my dad since he was the only one who could pick up my gram and bring her home. Other than that, I sat by myself in my car until arrived. Yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking being by myself, but it was a learning experience. If I could do it, so could original poster's wife. Not the asshole once you mention that you have All you have to do is call the number on the card and answer their questions. Help. They have an app you can use to call for help. You don't even have to make a phone call. Everyone makes mistakes, and I don't think she's 2 for running out of gas. But she is 2 for the way she treated you. It sounds like you were willing to stay on the phone and calm her down, which is all I'd personally ask from a partner in that situation. I think she relies a little too heavily on you. She needs to buck up and act like an adult. I'll say it. She's a 38-yo, and I think she is for running out of gas on a 45 minutes plus trip. She had time before the 45 minutes trip, during the trip, at the destination, and prior to leaving her sister's house to know she needed gas. What grown adult doesn't look at their gas gauge, though? She created her issue. I have really bad anxiety that ramps up when having to talk to strangers on the phone, so I have a small amount of sympathy for her. But if I was in the same situation and the one person I felt most comfortable with couldn't help with the practical side, I would take my anxiety medication, ride out whatever emotions I needed to progress while it kicks in and work down the list of alternatives. Would I have a panic attack over it and feel like crap the rest of the day? Yeah, probably. Would it take me longer than most people to work up the courage to make the call? Absolutely. But that's, unfortunately, the way life is sometimes. Even if you don't have AIA, you can usually call any tow truck company, which are often who IA or other roadside assistance programs contract with, and they will bring you gas for a fee. It's a quick call for them, and oftentimes they will just keep a tank filled on the back of the truck so they can give you a gallon, charge you $50, and be on their way in less than 5 minutes. Not the asshole. I think the buzzword that applies here is weaponized incompetence. Learned helplessness. Exactly this. There are far too many things to help ensure you don't run out of gas to run out of gas. Either the gas gauge and warning light don't work, or your wife is a moron, not the asshole. It's great to see women excelling in a male-dominated field. Weaponized incompetence, emotional abuse, denial of accountability, and from the sounds of it, a perpetual victim. What a joy of a person. I'm just a girl, not the asshole. Your wife sure is though. She is a grown adult. A diagnosis is not a free ticket to push all your adult responsibilities onto someone else. She should have checked her gas tank at some point after the 45-minute drive there. She should have been an adult and used basic problem-solving skills like walking her ass to the nearest gas station. And then she actively dodged your calls afterwards. Interesting how she called and tried to insist you leave work but refused to call her sister because she'd left for work, most likely somewhere much closer to her. Finally, this morning she spoke to me, but all she said was, "I can't count on you anymore. Seems like you've never been able to count on her. Not to behave like an adult, not to manage her emotions, not to manage her responsibilities, not to avoid sabotaging your job." In the wise words of Pete Davidson, mental illness isn't an excuse to act like a jackass. 45 minutes each way, odds are the fuel light was on the entire time as well. I'm the only person that drives my car. I always know when I need to fill up, but I also still look every time I get in the car. Yes, it is in fact original poster who can't count on his wife. Honestly, the part about refusing to call her sister because she'd already left for work really says it all. She wanted you to drop everything, not actually solve the problem. These symptoms aren't anxiety and ADD. They are who she is, not the asshole. This sounds exhausting. How does she not know how to call? It's a literal app on your phone, and you just press the button that you need help, and it sends them your location. I have anxiety and ADD. I'm also recently divorced and can function and survive on my own just fine and have used many times. No reason for you to leave work for this. Next time, tell her what to do to get roadside assistance, but if she's like this all of the time, it's time to see a psychiatrist for some medication because she's truly not functional. I have anxiety and ADD, and these symptoms are definitely familiar. When something happens that I'm not prepared for, I have completely broken down and not been able to even make a phone call. Edit. This thread just shows how few people actually understand mental health, and that mental health stigma is still very real and exists. Not the asshole. I have ADD and anxiety. Last year, I got a flat tire on a busy interstate with 2 kids in the car while my husband was at work. I called him to let him know the situation, but never asked or expected him to leave work. I called my insurance, provided roadside assistance. They sent a guy to my location to fix the flat. Then I was on my way. When you're an adult, you have to do adult things despite ADD and anxiety. This. Her anxiety is either so bad she needs therapy and medication, or she should have learned mechanisms to cope and handle things on her own by now. My partner will give me an out and do things for me that he knows makes me anxious: phone calls, driving, etc. when he's able. However, I know that when I don't have that crutch, I can calm myself down however long that takes and do the adult thing and handle myself. I would never blame someone else, BC. I couldn't figure out how to do something or couldn't get a grip on my own brain/emotions. That's just fucked and completely ignoring the real issue. Would it be fair to wonder how someone with anxiety and is 38 does not seem to have planned for multiple scenarios including car issues? Like, make sure you have your card. Double-checking there's enough gas for a 45-minute drive, let alone round-trip drive, let alone we'll need to pick up kids today as well. App on cell phone. I prepped an accident sheet when I didn't actually have a good cell phone and started to drive. What information do I need at the accident? What information do I need from other driver if applicable? Location? Freeway? Closest exists? Thank you very much for watching. Put likes, write comments, and wait for new videos on the channel.